Bill and Ted. The Toast Rangers featuring Bill and Ted. One night, Robert the ACS-64 was pulling the Amtrak Silver Star up the Northeast Corridor on its last leg of the journey to New York Penn Station. Then, unexpectedly, his emergency brakes were applied.
What's going on? This is very strange.
He brought his train to a grinding halt when it happened.
Who goes there?
What? Who's that? Why does that voice sound like a ghost?
That's because I have returned. After 31 years, I want my revenge.
31 years? Return? What are you talking about? Show yourself.
Very well then.
What in the world?
Then the ghost disappeared and the voice of it went away. Robert was terrified and confused. He was then able to get the train moving, and so he continued his journey uninterrupted. By the time he got back to Sunnyside Yard, it was sunrise. Most of the ancients there would be waking up shortly. Then Robert saw Bill and Ted.
Bill! Ted! I need to tell you something!
Oh dear, now what?
I saw a ghost!
A ghost? How is that even possible?
I don't know, but I saw a ghost right in front of me, and it looked like you, Bill.
Me? As in a toaster engine like me?
Yes, exactly!
What was the number of this toaster engine then?
It was a bit hard to tell, but I think it was number 903.
This sent a chill right through Bill and Ted's system.
Number 903? You mean Jerome?
Oh dear. There's a very sad story behind him.
Story? What story could that be?
Well, it's not something we usually like to talk about, but since you've asked and would like to know more about Jerome, I suppose it would be best for me to tell you.
And this was the story he told. Jerome was one of the first AM7 toasters built for the Northeast Corridor. Originally, he was going to serve his purpose for as long as possible. However, his life ended earlier than expected in the most tragic way possible. On January 4th, 1987, when Bill and Ted were roughly 8 years old, Jerome proudly pulled what was then known as the Amtrak Colonial, now the Regional, along the Northeast Corridor to Boston. He led the train with John, the prototype AM7. However, when he left Baltimore, he was running late.
We're running late. We'll have to speed a little bit to make up for lost time.
Isn't that dangerous?
A little speeding never hurt anybody.
Meanwhile, Ricky, a B-36-7 locomotive, was running with a couple other engines like him to a yard in Pennsylvania with his brothers Edward and another John. They ran as a trio, but Ricky had muted his alerter and was breaking several railroad regulations. Worse still, Edward wasn't making the situation any better, as he was supposed to call any signals that Ricky missed, but didn't do so. This was a recipe for disaster.
Ah, yes. So nice to take a stroll up the line without having to hear my annoying beeper.
Indeed! We should do this more often. Just a relaxing drive along a fast line with nothing to worry about.
Are you guys really paying attention?
Of course, but this is easy. We don't have a whole train to pull. Just us all by ourselves.
But little did they know, they were about to cause a big bang.
Guys, Are you sure you have been paying attention to the signals?
What are those guys doing?
What's wrong?
We're doomed.
It was a terrible mess. Twisted metal, injured and dazed passengers, and chaos. As a result, Jerome and John were damaged beyond repair and scrapped. John, the B-36, was also scrapped. Ricky and Edward were repaired and then shunted for 5 years in Maryland and then returned to service afterwards. Bill and Ted were saddened when they heard about the crash and would never see two of their brothers again. Every time they pass through that interlocking, they always have a moment of silence to remember Jerome, John, and all the passengers and crew that were involved in the tragedy.
Well, that was something.
And now it looks like Jerome has returned as a ghost for some reason.
That's interesting, because I also heard Jerome's ghost said that it wanted revenge after 31 years.
31 years? Has it really been that long?
Looks like today's date is January 4th, 2018. Today's the 31st anniversary of the crash.
That probably has to do with why Jerome is only now appearing as a ghost. But why does he want revenge?
He didn't say. Maybe you two should meet him and see what he wants.
Meet him? But what if he does something crazy?
I think as long as we reason with him, he shouldn't do anything that bad.
Oh no.
Well, I'm off for a nap. And shouldn't you two be off to work today?
Alright, I forgot. Hurry up, Ted. We're pulling the Silver Star today.
You better do this right and not overrun the platform like you always do, Bill.
Your mother!
And so Bill and Ted went to do their work. To be continued.